It's been 2 years since Congress passed legislation that provided for transparency in the mineral industry. It was a provision that was included in the Dodd-Frank bill. It was included an amendment that Senator Lugar and I worked on. I want to thank Senator Lugar for his incredible leadership on this issue, transparency, as well as so many issues that affect the security of not only America, but global security. This was a provision that we had worked on to provide transparency in countries in transition. It provided a visible sign of U.S. leadership, that we were going to do everything we could to improve good governance around the world, that we understood that for the stability of America, that we needed countries that had good governance. The United States spends more than any other country of the world on our national security budget. In fact, we spend more than most of the other worlds combined spend on national defense. We have the ability to use our military for our national defense, but it's much better if we can develop stable countries around the world. The way to develop stable countries is to help build a stable economy, to help build wealth, and to have good governance. It is impossible to see the type of progress that we want in these countries unless they have good governance. And I might tell you the more that we can help in this regard, the more we have good governance, the more we have economic growth in other countries, not only is it less on our direct security burdens, but it also presents for us new markets and economic opportunities for America. As the presiding officer knows, this is the guiding principle of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, where we use the Helsinki Commission as our implementing arm. The Helsinki Accords that were signed in 1975 between Europe, all the countries of Europe, the United States, and Canada, recognized that it was in our national security interests to develop stable countries that respected human rights and had good governance. And this is the reason why the Cardin Lugar Amendment was so important in the Dodd-Frank legislation. Let me explain what it did. It requires mineral companies to list their contracts on extraction, on the minerals that they take out of a country, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, whether it's diamonds, whether it's copper, that they list their individual contracts in foreign countries in their listing with the Security and Exchange Commission. Now, we did that for many reasons. One reason, quite frankly, is that although many countries of the world have vast sums of mineral wealth, these are some of the poorest countries in the world. We call it the mineral curse because the wealth of the country is not only being denied to the people for their economic growth, it's being used to fuel corruption within their own country. So one of the reasons for the provision that we passed was to provide transparency so that the people of the country, the international community, knew exactly where the payments were being made for the extraction of mineral wealth in a country. We thought that was also important for U.S. investors. If you're going to invest in a mineral company, you have a right to know where their contracts are being signed and where they're paying money. It's also important for U.S. interest. We need stable mineral reserves. As you know, we have gone to war over the need for oil. We need to know and have stable markets so that we don't jeopardize our own economic progress. This gives us a chance also to follow the money so that we know where the money, in fact, is going in a particular country. For all of those reasons, we passed in the Dodd-Frank legislation a provision that requires every company, company that's involved in extractive minerals to list those contracts, so specifically by project, in their Security and Exchange Commission's filings. It was pretty clear as to what needed to be done. We gave the authority to the SEC to issue the necessary regulations. Well, we've been waiting 2 years for these regulations. 2 years. We are now well beyond the limits that were spelled out in the legislation for the SEC to issue its regulations. And yet they still have not issued their final regulations. Now, I must tell you, I've read the statute over and over again. I helped write the statute. Senator Lugar has read the statute. We don't understand the difficulty here. It wasn't a complicated law. It said exactly what the companies had to do. So we are somewhat puzzled that it's taken this length of time for the SEC to issue its final regulations. In the meantime, we're being denied the benefit of this law. We're being denied the opportunity of protecting our investors. We're being denied the opportunity of following the money to help develop good governance. All that has been delayed as a result of the SEC's failure to issue regulations. I must tell you, it also jeopardizes U.S. leadership. Yes, there are other countries interested in following what the United States is doing. We've heard from Europe, we've heard from Asia. They want to adopt similar laws. They don't know what to pass because they're still waiting for the SEC to act. So the failure to act is not only affecting our ability, but it's affecting other countries, and collectively, between Asia, Europe, and the United States, we can pretty much cover all of the international extractive companies and therefore have a real major impact on transparency in this issue. I might say one of the reasons that I've heard about why we have a separate bill when we have what's known as the EITI, that's the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. It's an international organization which is voluntary. Countries can join. The United States has participated in the EITI, and they help countries with best practices for developing the governance to deal with how they handle their mineral wealth. EITI is an important program. It's a voluntary program. It works well. The Cardin Lugar provisions in Dodd-Frank complement the EITI. It works together. It provides, between the two, the EITI and our legislation, a way that we can really require companies to make the information available in an open way. The EITI gives the countries the technical assistance they need in order to manage their mineral wealth in the most effective way for the benefit of their own people, to elevate their wealth and to have more sustainable economies. So this delay has caused a great deal of concern to many of us. And quite frankly, Oxfam, for example, has filed suit against the SEC for its failure to issue regulations. And I'm very sympathetic to that lawsuit. Well, I just want to inform my members, we have now been told that the SEC will finally issue their regulations on August the 22nd, in just a few weeks. They have formally responded to the Oxfam lawsuit, saying that they will issue their regulations on August the 22nd. I have received a letter from the SEC indicating that they intend to release their findings on August the 22nd. Mr. President, it's long overdue. I must tell you, I'm looking forward to seeing the regulations from the Securities and Exchange Commission. I just hope that they follow the legislation. It's up to Congress to pass the laws. SEC needs to implement the laws under the direction and guidance from Congress. We've made it clear that we want openness and transparency. I understand some oil companies may not like that, but they don't write the laws, we do. It's up to the SEC now to come in with regulations that carry out the intent of our law and help us move forward so that the resource wealth of countries in the developing world become a real asset, a real benefit as they develop sustainable economies and good governance, which helps global stability and helps the global economy. We'll be watching the SEC. I know we'll be in recess during that period of time, but we'll be watching the SEC, and I hope that we'll be working together and the United States will continue to exercise its leadership, and we'll see other countries follow suit where we really can make a difference in the wealth and growth of countries around the world that for too long have been suffering, even though they have a lot of mineral wealth.